Ant-Man and the Wasp is the sequel to the surprising original hit film Ant-Man, which introduced us to one of Marvel's more obscure superhero characters. And this time around, director Peyton Reed is back, as well as stars Paul Rudd, Evangeline Lilly, and Michael Douglas. The story takes place 2 years after the events of Captain America's Civil War, and Scott Lang, aka Ant-Man, has been sentenced with a 2-year house arrest, and there are just 3 days left on that house arrest period. And at the same time, Michael Douglas's character Hank Pym and his daughter Hope are building this quantum tunnel thing to hope to enter the quantum realm and rescue Michael Douglas's wife Michelle Pfeiffer, Janet Van Dyne. Now, is Ant-Man and the Wasp better than the original film? No, not even close. The original film was great. Is Ant-Man and the Wasp a good film? Yeah, I say so, but maybe barely. Paul Rudd, come on. As soon as you see the guy on the screen, you want to smile. He's just so likable, charismatic, the kind of guy you want to just bro up with and have a beer with and just be buddy-buddy. And he brings that charming persona, his likability to Scott Lang, and it just works for the character. Lily, on the other hand, I'm not so sold on her as the Wasp. She's a solid actress, don't get me wrong. I thought she was great in Lost. She was pretty good in Real Steel, but she's just not the right fit for this Wasp character, and maybe that's because she just wasn't written well in this sequel. Because in the first film, she worked, because in the first film she was this bitter woman who was denied the opportunity to don the costume and be a hero herself, and she was just relegated to being the coach of Ant-Man, and so you could kind of see why she was kind of pissed off, had this hard edge to her, so it worked for that first film. But now in the second film, she now is the Wasp character, she is a hero, and yet they just couldn't find the right tone for her, I think. Is she still supposed to be this hard-ass woman, or is she supposed to be kind of softened up and have a romance with Scott Lang? You know, they just kind of wavered with the character and they never really committed. And I think that's where her performance and her character suffered. Michael Douglas, solid as always, and you know, there are a couple of scenes where he's supposed to look young in the flashback, and dude, the CGI now makes these people look so young, it's great, they look perfect. Michael Pena is back also, and he's hilarious once again, but he is just part of this whole kind of sequelitis formula failure of the movie. Well, maybe a failure is kind of too harsh of a word, but good sequels, they take what worked in the first film and bring them into the second film, obviously, and then kind of grow on that, expand on that, just kind of be a little more creative with it, and kind of give the audience more of what they liked in the first movie. The bad sequels don't do that bad sequel, just kind of maybe be a little lazy and just give you more of the same. And Ant-Man and the Wasp kind of leans toward that type of sequel. It's just not as creative as the original, not as funny, not as imaginative. Michael Pena, like I said, for example, he's super funny, but his funniest moment is kind of a rehash of his funniest moments from the first film. So I like that he had more screen time, but does he do more with it than the first film? Not really. And the action scenes, they're all kind of stuff you've seen before. They throw in some comical elements like the Hello Kitty Pez dispenser, the salt shaker, stuff like that. But overall, I just don't think they got as creative as they could have. For example, in the first film, it's all about learning the powers and his abilities, and everything you saw was pretty cool. And just the whole scale of all the battles was a really cool element in that first film. And then in Civil War, you see Ant-Man growing to huge size for the side, and you're like, holy shit, there's more to his power, that's so cool. And then in this movie, they don't really do that much more with it. I know you're probably limited in what you can show with a person who can just shrink and grow as their power, but it just kind of lacks something to me, and that's maybe where the loss of Edgar Wright comes in. The first film, for those of you who don't know, was really influenced by the original writer and director Edgar Wright, who then had to leave the film towards the end, and Peyton Reed stepped in to finish it out. This time around, Edgar Wright has no involvement, and that's probably where that little something is just missing from the film. You know, Marvel has given us some great films over the last 10 years. Most of them have been super good. They have great characters, great stories, great action scenes, great humor. So, you know, they have a really high bar that they have to meet every single time, and you know what? there's nothing wrong with not quite hitting that bar with every film, and Ant-Man and the Wasp definitely falls below that bar, but that's okay. I mean, everyone can't be a home run. Ant-Man and the Wasp just seems to suffer from some writing issues. The quantum realm thing isn't really quite explained as to what it does. This whole shrinking and growing of this portable lab just made no sense to me whatsoever. Just logically, just doesn't work. I know it's a comic book movie and it's supposed to just kind of take things for granted, but at least try to explain how this whole process works, because you have this little portable lab that grows to a huge building size and then shrinks down like this, and then they're just throwing it all around the place. And how does everything stay intact inside the building? I don't quite know, but you know, that kind of stuff, it just, the film makes you make a lot of assumptions, and again, that's kind of where the writing just kind of made the film suffer overall. But you know what, the film still is pretty enjoyable. It's not a bad film. I still say it's marginally good. As a Marvel fan, of course you have to go watch it, and I definitely recommend it. Just kind of keep your expectations a little tempered, and remember that it won't be as good as the original. But still, Ant-Man and the Wasp for me gets a 6 out of 10. Thank you so much for watching my review. If you want to see more movie reviews in the future, please subscribe to my channel, MC on Film. Thanks.